Hi everyone, my name is Dave Kraus. I just wanted to take this opportunity to say it's been a wonderful 4 weeks. I've enjoyed reading your discussions, along with which I am looking forward to your feedback because I do plan on sharing this presentation with my colleagues. Speaking of colleagues, I work in Southern California, specifically at Downey High School, where we have an enormous student population, numbers in excess of 4,500 kiddos, the predominant number of which are Hispanic. So thanks, and let's get started. How do we prepare our students for tomorrow? We, that is all teachers, want our students to grow up both healthy and prepared to tackle whatever the world needs. So how do we make sure our little boys and girls not only graduate, but also become successful professionals? Let's ask major corporations what they're looking for and backwards plan. You can take a look at some of the major corporations at the top of this slide. Just a few of those who participate in a survey developing a top 10 list of characteristics they'd like to see their employees have. Let's focus in on number 4, analysis and investigation. Of course, employers want good team players who can analyze and investigate for themselves and for the benefit of their respective company. So that's what we'll be talking about, and here's a layout for the rest of the slides. Of course, we've already covered what employers are looking for: self-guided and self-informed professionals who add insight and thoughtfulness to the company. Next, we will talk about investigation and analysis as that occurs in the school setting. Finally, it is important to revisit school acceptable use policies in order to inform and model for our students how to avoid common pitfalls and, worse, be unoriginal. Lastly, this presentation contains many helpful links. Therefore, I will be happy to share it with all of you, and I will, following my presentation. It is important to note that this phenomenon of poor researchers has been building and thus eliciting studies and published materials on the issue. For example, Professor Herring suggests our students don't just know how to perform research. More importantly, they need opportunities to practice. Compare that with what employers are looking for, and you will find a need that we as educators can address. So again, I firmly believe there isn't an educator out there who would object to the following statement: all teachers want our kiddos to be successful. I recognize that I am not asking for something new either. I just believe an across-the-board agreement means that we continue to develop best practices and expected common outcomes, as we have been already, so that something as important as research, analysis, and critical thinking is not left to chance. In order to move this discussion forward, I think there are 4 norms that we can agree upon. 1. Every grade level will provide at least an opportunity a semester for students to practice research. 2. Acknowledge the ubiquitous use of Wikipedia. This survey demonstrates how many of our students actually will click and use Wikipedia. Over 80% if you take the occasional, the always, and the frequently, and do a little math. Trust me, English teacher doing some math. But seriously, Wikipedia is used everywhere by our students, and I think, maybe not in public at least, but I think some of you would admit to using it as well. The next norm that's important: once we acknowledge Wikipedia, we need to provide easy access to scholarly databases. In other words, enhance our students' information literacy by setting them up for success to places such as ERIC, InfoTrack, and Google Scholar. Finally, in order to facilitate and scaffold our students' needs, teachers in grades 9 and 10 will help with the research process, possibly by providing the research itself and letting students know where we find it. And as they move from grade 10 through their junior year and on into their senior year, and hopefully college, letting go of the reins and letting them peruse the World Wide Web, and of course, scholarly databases to do their own research. With the 4 norms in mind, here are the tools everyone can use and adapt to their liking in order to help our students become better researchers. analyzers, and critical thinkers. InfoTrack is the subscription database that we use here at Downey Unified. It's fantastic. If you haven't used it, check it out. ERIC, another fantastic database, is government developed and free. Google Scholar is likewise free, however, it often leads a user's queries to paid-for content, sometimes a couple bucks. I've seen some journals cost as much as $10 for access. So not completely cost prohibitive, but we do have other sources that provide us access to free vetted materials to enhance our research. As we let our students go out into the World Wide Web, here's an awesome checklist for our students to evaluate different websites and sources on the web. If you don't remember what Boolean operators are, don't worry. A few short minutes of each of these 2 videos will leave you well armed to conduct a lesson, or better yet, flip the classroom if you're comfortable and have your students watch these on their time, and then they can enter the classroom and work on research, critical thinking skills, and the like. Lastly, as we agreed to encourage our students to become better researchers and provide them with opportunities to practice, we need to remind them that they have signed this document, the Acceptable Use Policy for Downey Unified School District. And it highlights, of course, that it is their responsibility. And by that, we need to remind them if there is any doubt as they perform their research, they need to let their teacher know immediately. Along with encouraging thoughtful use of the internet and developing their own research, I think it's a good opportunity to mention that some of us, and more of us would be better for it, should use Turnitin.com. From their website, they suggest that they've decreased the unoriginal submissions. I guess they're avoiding the word plagiarism by over a third, and that's fantastic. So, as we bring this presentation to a close, I ask you again, how do we prepare our students for tomorrow? We encourage them to research. We encourage them to do this thoughtfully, and we do this by providing instruction and the tools necessary to navigate the abundance of information available in this brave new world. Thanks, and I look forward again to your feedback and comments